You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our recap of the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. Andrew and Don are here once again, and we are joined for the first time during our Mando recaps by Jared the Dark Jedi. You may know him from the Nerd Academy podcast. You may know him from Knights of the Nerd Republic, among many other projects, and he is with us back once again. How are you today?
I am great. I am super excited to talk about this. I messaged Andrew while I was just kind of pacing around my living room after finishing the episode, because Andrew and I will occasionally just send each other that, hey, did you see that shit message after every episode of Star Wars television? And instead of a, hey, did you see that shit? I said, hey, I'm coming on your podcast. Because I need to unpack this. I got to be on Comic Book Cast this week to talk about it. After we're done recording this, I'm going to be on Knights of the Nerd Republic talking about it again. And I'm slowly like processing this episode verbally with all of my favorite content creators. So it was part 2 of the Mando finale decompression for me.
Exactly. Let's talk about it. But before we get to Mando, we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that Jared caused Plan 99.
I killed Tech. I did it myself.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It was you.
Yeah. For those that don't remember, when Jared was on for our season 2 premiere episode of The Bad Batch, there was a moment where we thought Tech was going to die, and Jared was just relishing in it. So then as soon as the finale ended, he was like, "Do you see that?" And I was like, "Yep, this is your fault." And
you did this. You did this. My bad. Oopsie.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was funny. I mean, you know, I've softened on Tech as that season went on, and you know, I made the decision to stop yucking other people's yum, even though it was in good fun, even though I didn't mean it. And then the season finale came around, and from the moment that man started dangling, I was like, I just retroactively made so many people angry. I was like, Tech better survive because I'm gonna get canceled if he doesn't. I got this ball rolling by making a lot of, oh man, if Tech dies, so yeah,
accidentally manifested like the most heartbreaking moment in Bad Batch.
and it deeply affected me. I had my Spider-Man 2 J. Jonah Jameson, maybe I was too harsh on you. I don't know why J. Jonah Jameson was just Alex Jones, but
just like got his outfit like framed.
Yes, the goggles on the wall, maybe we were too harsh on him.
And he just thieves it back.
I mean,
and we start all over again.
And the PS4 Spider-Man game, J. Jonah Jameson is pretty much just Alex Jones, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it is.
That is one of my favorite things ever. As a Spider-Man fan and as somebody with a deep, unhealthy obsession with Alex Jones, with good old AJ.
I'm always on
really
board
funny.
for some Alex Jones clowning on. So, like, if anyone wants to clown Alex
how
Jones,
have you not been on TNAP yet? How have you not been on TNAP? We play like at least 2 Alex clips an episode. No, that shit's supremely funny. The first time I played the Spider-Man game was really funny because I'm like laughing at like the Alex Jones pastiche. I'm like, oh, this is really funny. And then at the end of his first like mini podcast you listen to, he starts yelling at his intern Jared. And I like almost dropped the controller because it caught me off guard. It was like, Jared, get in here. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? I was like, all of it is coming together. Spider-Man, Alex Jones. Anyway. But yeah, The Mandalorian.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So last week ended off on such a like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen moment with Din, of course, being captured. We saw the death of Paz Vizsla, and
R.I.P.
Moff Gideon now has the Dark Trooper suit. So this week we were wondering,
what's some Praetorian guards as well?
Yeah, exactly. If I could grab my like Rey versus Praetorian Guard Funko that I have without always knocking it over my desk, I would do that.
You have one of those?
I do, yeah. It just every time I slightly move something on this desk, it just falls right over. So we're just not gonna risk it.
Everybody,
I gotta talk about how awesome the Praetorian Guards were, like both here and in the last episode, because like I love that they've brought them in. Yeah, because like they've brought them in really well, and I like how it's a different look, like it's a Phase 1 look, and they have the kind of Mandalorian inspired helmets, and they also have like literally a first order chest plate with some spikes, which is just really cool. Because I did a Twitter thread about how they're kind of like, it's like the ARC troopers in the Clone Wars. They're like modeling that new armor before the grunts take it on. But they were really cool. They felt, if anything, it made the fight in The Last Jedi stronger, because like the fact that they're so lethal, that they took Paz down with like such little effort, it makes Rey and Kylo Ren, and as we later see, Mando and Grogu, more impressive for being able to just like knock them on their ass. So yeah,
absolutely. And there's a really fun like visual continuity there with like they fight just like they do in The Last Jedi. Like there's a stop and startness to how they fight and how they move. Like they take hits the exact same way. I don't know if these were the same stunt performers that we had in TLJ or what, but they very much understood the visual language and physicality that the stunt performers in The Last Jedi had with that Praetorian Guard fight. And it carries over here, and it just adds to that continuity of like whatever in-universe martial art that is the basis for the Praetorian Guard's training. It makes them feel, even though they are separated by 30 odd years, it still makes them feel as though they have some amount of continuity between them martially.
Yeah.
And as somebody who loves their space martial art nonsense, with the 7 forms and everything, that was a really nice touch. And I really like the execution with the Praetorian Guard.
Absolutely. They're also like really dramatic as well. I love how like both times they come out and there's like a smoke machine, and they're like thieves just comes in. Like,
there's like, a smoke machine. There's the quiet.
Yeah. How many times do you think they practice that? There's absolutely a version of it where they come out and like one of them's a little slow. And he's like, oh, damn it! Like it's why, Darren, you're messing it up again.
That's very funny.
Yeah, one time always to make this grand entrance. Yeah, but we were wondering like what's going to happen with Din, because he is captured, and Twitter was very much in the mindset this week that Din Djarin was going to die, and I wasn't fully there. I was actually worried that if they were going to kill anyone, they were going to kill Bo-Katan. And I'm so glad that did not happen. But
we love Bo-Katan on this podcast.
I did. Yep. So I
would have been a grumpy podcast if she had died.
I wouldn't have showed up. I would not have shown up for the episode. But
just be like 40 minutes of silence.
Yeah, it's like Andrew was not here this week. Please enjoy this silence and these. I would have just played the Grogu clip the whole episode. No.
So I'm surprised. I mean, no, Jerry from the Bombad Cast made it. I am very disappointed that none of us have taken the time to take the entirety of The Spies and take every yes, and not replace it with no, neat. They have Jerry on Bombcast has one clip of the first time he goes no.
I saw the one. I don't know if Scotty or Jerry did it, but the one that they did of Pershing.
Yes. That is also on the Nerd Academy StreamYard for clips. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Have you visited the Hanging Gardens yet? Done. No.
What did you think of the Praetorian Guards? Neat.
The poor guy's not here to defend himself.
But
no. He refuses to come before the Republic when I'm here, and I'm getting hurt by it. I want to come visit him in his house.
He doesn't want to do double duty. He saw how it went with trespass, and he just can't do it again.
Oh my goodness!
Shout out to the one time I accidentally called Eli one of his pod dads, and he I think that was the angriest I've ever seen. In my life.
I'm angry by that. I'm not sharing custody with Eli. Hell no.
That was interesting. But I do find it quite interesting, or at least not what I was expecting, that Din kind of got out of that situation within the first 5 minutes of the episode. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I thought for sure he was getting tortured. I was the way it got set up, I was really concerned that he was going to get my overall theory was that he was going to get put in the mind flayer because they previously set that up, and he was gonna. Yeah, me too, because I would have hated it because it would have been such an awful way to treat him during the finale. I mean, my big prediction was that Boba Fett was just going to come in and solo the whole Imperial base. So I would have liked Boba Fett to have played a role in the season, but anyway, yeah, I'm glad that it didn't happen though with Din. It was such a surprise when he then just immediately gets out of the they did the thing again. They did the thing. All Imperials do it. They get the good guy and they send him down a hallway with just 2 stormtroopers to guard him, and it never ends well. They did it in Obi-Wan, and then the same thing happens. Immediately, just overpowers them, takes them out. It took Din longer. Because,
Din didn't have any weapons on him.
Yeah, but I mean, can we just say, so much praise to Din as a character, for his fighting ability in this, because we all often like to make jokes about how Din is kind of a himbo and he struggles a bit with the fight scenes and he has the advantage of his Beskar armor, but he really showed his fighting prowess in this episode, taking on those 2 commandos with his bare hands, fighting that whole bridge full of commandos, which was just such an awesome sequence. I just loved it.
Yeah, people have said before, both as a compliment and to denigrate the Mandalorian, that donkey kicked my fucking microphone. that it feels like a video game at times. And watching Din bare knuckle the super commandos was incredible. I was talking with Alden Diaz earlier about how so much of this show, you never get to see Din just scrap with somebody, and just watching most of this episode be Din just putting his dukes up and getting in the shit was a lot of fun. But the moment with the R5 next laser gate,
that was awesome.
When he had the shield and the riot stick from Force Awakens, that was badass. And I'm such a nerd for Star Wars sound effects, and when I heard the sound effect of those,
that plosive whenever they collide,
those things are so cool, and I'm glad that we're getting more of them. And I also love the little bit of comedy when he knocks that one guy over and he tries to get the gun and he just misses. It's just brilliant.
But this is so specific, but the battle through the laser gates felt so much like that last room in Fallen Order before you fight Trilla for the last time, where you're in that gigantic circular cell block, and it's just stormtroopers all around, firing down on you, and there's one more purge trooper, and I've replayed Fallen Order multiple times, not as many times as Connor, but I make a point of replaying it once a year, and I always love that room because it's my last chance to do cool shit before you gotta take Trilla seriously and not die. And I don't know, it felt like that. It felt okay, this is your last opportunity to do cool shit before you're gonna spend the rest of this show on the ropes. And I don't know, it felt very similar to that. and the tension with R5 next gate, and the mouse droids. It is such a great tense moment that you'd think would get undercut by the comedy of the mouse droid stuff, but wasn't.
I loved the whole bit with the mouse droids. It was so good. Yeah. Like, who would have known R5? Like R5. Like, we were all making theories about who would come in for the save, and it turned out it was R5. Like, that's such a Star Wars thing to have, like, the unexpected savior be this little droid who was, like, a little scared, but, like, a little rickety, but he comes in, like, regardless, and, like, saves the day, and even just, like, tells the mouse droid to piss off with an electro prod. That was great.
Yes.
I loved when there were like more of them. Like the mouse droid goes off and you think, oh no, is he going to bring back stormtroopers? He just brings some of his buddies and they all just like just try and ram.
They're just going to yell at him. That's all.
They're just like, what are you doing here? Get out of here! Get out of here! This is our spot. Get out of here! And then like the thing that made me laugh the most was when like R5 goes to take off again. And then one of the mouse droids just like backs up and falls off. That's just such a great little detail. They're like, oh no, I miscalculated. I mean, also as well, this is the first time I think we've seen an astromech like jet around since Revenge of the Sith, like in live action. I mean, because like R2, we never got to see R2 like jet in the sequels because R2 did play a backseat to BB-8, but like. Just that was a cool thing again. I like seeing little astromechs like jet around and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice touch, the Mando verse shows and Star Wars as a whole. I think when we first began the era of the Disney acquisition, there was a caginess with acknowledging the very existence of the prequels.
Oh, absolutely.
The sequel trilogy was very invested in returning to the visual language of the prequels, or the original trilogy rather, and almost all of the media that came out in those first few years was so deeply centered on the original trilogy that a lot of prequel era stories kind of fell by the wayside. And it was frustrating, and it was kind of disappointing and demoralizing, being prequel kids, that those movies weren't quite getting their flowers. And as time has gone on, as the creators working on these projects that we love are kind of getting more of their groove and more of their understanding, not want to say understanding, but getting a handle on the fans actually do like this, because Star Wars fans for the most part do actually like Star Wars. We are getting more of those like same visual cues, those same visual throwbacks and beats that are like, oh yeah, astromechs have their little rocket pack going on, and it makes me happy to see some of that get the lip service that other original trilogy concepts kind of get as a given.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, the whole opening thing, like letting R5 get his shining moment was awesome. Grogu coming to the rescue with IG-12. I love it every time. It's no and yes, like it hasn't gotten old to me yet.
Yeah,
and
it made me a bit emotional.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the episode, as was the whole way that all of Bo's fleet just kind of jetpacked out of there. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah,
Axwell was coming to the rescue by himself, and using the light cruiser as a decoy.
I'm gonna bump that dude up my rankings because he was really impressive this episode.
I thought he was gonna bite it.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
so glad he didn't.
Dude like flies all the way up through that like magnetic disturbance in the atmosphere, gets in the ship, gets everyone out, and then like literally just solos that entire like squadron of TIE fighters and brings the whole thing down, which was a gorgeous image. And I love the symbolism that, because we'll talk about like, Gideon's hubris and the Empire's hubris, but like, I love that it was an Imperial ship that destroyed the Imperial base. It's just like brilliant. And it's a great callback to Return of the Jedi as well.
Also, just great shout out to that one shot of all the TIEs launching to Gideon's theme. It was
the
so
interceptors.
Cool.
Oh, that was so cool.
I cursed it. I was like, I put the tweet on like, man, like Gideon's one of my favorite villains. Yeah, Ludwig's theme that he wrote for him is like one of the best in all of Star Wars, and then he fucking dies. I'm like, all right, well, I'm never tweeting again.
I don't think he's dead, Andrew. I don't think he's dead.
There are two things in this episode that I'm like on. That's one of them.
He's got the armor and he has clones. Like we could see Gideon.
That threw me off.
So there's that.
Let me depending on how you define dead, that is that like which is such a fun, pulpy, stupid fucking sentence to say. Depending on how you define dead, Gideon could very well come back. We don't know what the cloning operation elsewhere looks like. Also, I don't know who all was saying it. I always loved the idea and loved the theory that he was experimenting on Grogu so he would be able to touch the Force. Whoever called that like 4 years ago now, good job.
Yeah.
Good looking out. Good looking out. That was you were on one that day. Whoever,
because I'll agree. And I just had that weird reaction of when Din and Grogu are going through that one cloning hallway for the first time, and I see all the vats, and I'm like, Snoke? And then I look closer, and I see naked Giancarlo Esposito, and I'm like, oh no, it's Gideon! And I had like a weird reaction of like, oh, this. I'm like, are we gonna see like a giant, like a bunch of Gideons fighting Din? And then Din just presses the button, and they just fall out of it. I'm like, okay, well that's one way of handling it.
Destroy the. We're not doing that. No.
Well, I mean,
like he's such a narcissist, Gideon, isn't he? Like he's such like I love that these last two episodes like laid his like sheer narcissism bare. Like he literally said about the Dark Trooper, "Oh, the improvement is that it has me in it," and it's like I love that his whole plan, like his whole thing was just about like trying to put the Force in himself. Like he probably like Alex from Star Wars Explained had that great way of saying it that everyone probably is Force sensitive and can touch the Force if they're able to open their minds to it, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do it the way of the Empire, and that's taking different bits of cultures, extracting those bits and grafting them on artificially, because that's the way of the dark side. But like I also love that, like, for all of his grandiosity, for all of like how much he kind of framed himself as like this impressive individual, he was kind of just a warlord who was being backed up by his rich buddies. Like, he just had these very kind of simple-minded goals that was just about accruing power for himself, and he wasn't really that interested in perpetuating the Imperial remnant.
I agree with everything you just said, and I think there's also something interesting that we don't know how much Gideon or even the Dark Council knows about Palpatine. We don't know if they know he's a Sith. We don't know if they know he can even touch the Force. We don't know a lot about what they may or may not know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
However, I love how much Gideon is trying to be the Emperor.
Yeah. And Vader rolled into one with the suit. Yeah.
Yeah, the act of I'm going to. My greatest victory will also become the home of my base of operations, because I'm going to let this be the final insult to this culture and this people that I eradicated. Palpatine did that with the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, turning the Jedi Temple into his palace. Gideon did that to Mandalore, basically putting his base of operations just outside the Great Forge, the beating heart of Mandalorian society. He appropriated, like the colonizer that he is, the legacy of Mandalore in that way. We see him being so vain to like want to cheat death and create armies of himself in this cloning operation. Now I want to be able to touch the Force. Like, I would like to think that Gideon knew that the Emperor was a Sith Lord, because then he's able to go, and it's just he is this cheap imitation. And as fascinating a villain as Giancarlo Esposito creates, with his performance, with everything about what he brings to this character, at the end of the day, Gideon, like so many other Star Wars villains, are these hollow bastards trying their best to scrounge at power they know they don't deserve.
Yeah, brilliant.
I absolutely love that element. And like you were saying, with the narcissism, with the hubris of, we created this unstoppable battle droid. Well, the only way to improve on this battle droid is actually, if there is an organic in it, me, and an army of me's who can touch the Force.
Yeah.
And Another thing, to continue the Emperor comparison, I know that Dark Empire is a little bit of a controversial legend story for myriad reasons. I would be interested to see if they try to do a Dark Empire with Gideon and frame it as though, because that's how Palpatine frames himself in Dark Empire. Now, obviously in Legends, they retcon it and say that Palpatine was lying to try to fuck with Luke. But the very idea that this isn't the first Moff Gideon. We've never been dealing with the original. He's always just been clones of clones of clones of clones since the cloning process began. Like, you could really do a send up there and really get into the nature of how monsters like Gideon will never go away.
Yeah.
People that would be a good idea. That this Gideon isn't the original one because he doesn't have the stash.
I was going to say the same thing. So absolutely,
it's possible. I do hope he survives because, again, it was just kind of like, yeah, he does die via, like you said, the Imperial ship destroying the Imperial base and it's cool symbolism. And the scene with Grogu was awesome. Yeah. But I'm like, man, he's such a cool villain. And for them to hint at him and Thrawn kind of going at it for power last week, if we don't get to see that, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. Just because I want to see the acting.
That's why I think he should come back as well, because you could treat this as a symbolic death. I'm going to probably use the word symbolic a lot in this episode, but treat it as a symbolic death of him being the main villain of the overarching series. He's gone from being that, and then whether it's through a clone or he survived because the armor is Beskar alloy. He winds up being a subordinate to Thrawn, and now he's got to be the second in a lower tier villain because he fucked up his big chance, and now all of his all of his resources got destroyed, so now he has to kowtow to Thrawn. So you could kind of turn Gideon into a Starscream type villain where he's he's pretending to be loyal to Thrawn, and then he's scheming the whole time, how am I going to overthrow him? I mean, I'm saying that in part because I'd love to see the young Carlo Esposito playing that kind of scheming kind of villain, because he's so good. He's such a good actor, and like you said, Andrew, just the thought of seeing him get to share scenes with Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn is just so tantalizing. So yeah, I hope this isn't the end for Gideon, but if it is, it's something of a fitting end because there's the whole theme of unity with this season, and the Mandalorians coming together, and he tries to frame the Mandalorians as weak constantly, and he dies alone because his whole idea, his whole plan revolves just around perpetuating himself, not around perpetuating anyone else, and so that's why he falls alone.
Not only does he die alone, he dies alone in a way that the armor couldn't protect him from. In fact, the armor probably assuming that Gideon died in a way that was supremely awful. He got cooked alive in that armor. Because it's not like the flame, we see how the flamethrower isn't able to burn the armor necessarily. He got cooked alive in an inferno. Again, assuming that he died.
We don't see a body, so that's the only thing that gives me pause.
I love how often we need to say that in Star Wars.
We always have to say that in Star Wars, we didn't see a body, so.
But yeah, we see him get cooked alive, and I agree completely. It is the double-edged sword. Part of me loves the idea that Gideon has been defeated today. I'm sorry if I seem distracted. A bee followed me into my office, and I was transfixed by it.
I would be screaming right now. I hate those fucking things.
No, not a save the bees guy, Andrew.
Save me from the bees.
I don't mind bees if it's a hornet or a wasp. Then I'm get out, leave me alone,
gone.
But yeah, no, I love the way that the armor that he was so happy to appropriate after feeling like he got this big win on Mandalorian society by destroying the Darksaber, in this almost petulant act of if I can't have it, no one can. And
exactly that.
And what he realizes is that beyond, Mandalorians are useless without their trinkets. Without all of that, he realizes the greatest weapon in the Mandalorians' arsenal is solidarity and love and togetherness. And what he witnesses is, without that love, he will die in the inferno that he has wrought on himself. Whereas they're protected by way of Grogu and Bo and Din, all kind of huddling under his little like force field.
Gorgeous image.
Yeah, it's a perfect way for him to go. If this is it for him, family. It was perfect. Yeah, one big happy family.
I'm just being selfish because he's one of my favorite actors, and I want to see him in the Filoni Mandoverse movies.
He's so good, for sure.
I'm like, keep him in there, and I just think every time Gideon's been in the show, it's gone up and up like that. It's like that's when it kicks into high gears. So
just bring him back and have like when Mando learns about it, just have like Pedro do like a just have him sigh like, oh, he just won't stay dead. This
somehow
guy
Moff Gideon returned, which I mean I feel like we should ask.
Which would be interesting because he does keep dying.
Yes.
Like it was very funny that in season because I rewatched Mando and Book before season 3 came out, and in either the penultimate episode or the finale of season 1, Cara Dune has this line where she's like, "Oh, I'm Moff Gideon. I thought he was dead." And then season 2 rolls around, and they're like, "Oh my God, Moff Gideon's alive." And then season 3 rolls around, it's like, "Yeah, Moff Gideon was carted off to a war crime tribunal to probably be executed." Like every time, it's like literally every season of this show, even the first season before we actually met him, has a somehow Moff Gideon returned, which adds to the pulp, in my opinion.
We do have Elia Kane still in play, so maybe she arrived and got him off the planet. Maybe some like agents of the Shadow Council did, or maybe he just got off the place himself. Again, it would be cool if it was either a clone, maybe the one that opened its eyes in that like really awesome jump scare, or it's him, but he's just like burnt up, partly cooked in the armor. That would be kind of cool. Bit of a Vader illusion.
Well, I was gonna say the Vader illusion is there absolutely, and you could also just go the route of he's in such a situation that he is very Vader right now. He has to be kept in this suit if he's able to survive. And then you make Giancarlo Esposito's involvement a lot easier, where now you just have him do what Pedro did this season.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's a shame you don't get
that's
gonna physicality, but
yeah, that's my next question. I mean, I feel like we could bring it up later, but since we didn't get any helmetless Din this season, do you think Pedro Pascal was on set at all this season, or was it all Brendan and Latif?
I think that because they were but I think because Brendan and Latif were credited. I mean, obviously they were already being credited because they do so much work, and it's like they've done so much work alongside Pedro, and I'm glad that they were credited. But I almost wonder if that was also because they've done literally all the physical acting this season, and Pedro couldn't be involved because he had to, because we'll probably get into it when we do the Mando season 3 recap. But I do wonder if a bunch of Din's story in this was precipitated by needing to course correct a little bit because of all the stuff that went down with Rangers of the New Republic, but also Pedro going off to make The Last of Us, which again, awesome show. Check it out. Excited for season 2, but I think I do wonder if I do have a feeling that Pedro was absent for most of the season. I'd be surprised if he filmed any scenes at all. So hopefully that'll change for season 4, because I think that's going to film in October. So that should be after Last of Us season 2 is filmed. So hopefully we'll get more helmetless Din there, because I feel like that precipitated a lot of him needing to keep the helmet on for this season. Because I'm a little the way the episode ends, you would kind of almost think he would take the helmet off there, but I feel like that kind of confirms that he didn't film any of the he didn't do any physical filming. He just did the voiceover. Yeah,
I think you're right. I do think that I think it's going to be very interesting discourse, and just a part of Star Wars mythos for the rest of our time, that a lot, I think, of the weird ethical questions about the Children of the Watch, which is what kept me from being fully in love with this finale in my first watch. I think ended up accidentally being precipitated by the fact that Pedro was not on set at all this season. And that you couldn't have like a big triumphant moment for Din to go like, I am just as much a Mandalorian without this bucket on my head and take it off. And you finally get to see Pedro's face. And I think it's funny that that's just maybe part of Star Wars forever is, he wasn't there. And that with the growing fan outcry to like give Brendan and Lateef their due, that on top of that, as you were saying, Donovan, we've now reached a fever pitch with this season where not only do they deserve their flowers, they've done more physical labor than Pedro Pascal did. And especially if Pedro Pascal's like contribution was a net zero in terms of being on set, which does not take away from his performance at all. But
his vocal performance is like absolutely up to par with the rest of the previous seasons, for sure.
But if he was not putting in the same amount of work as Lateef and Brendan, he absolutely deserves they deserve to be credited to begin with. But then doing it now, it would have been egregious if they didn't.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna pick
you wonder. Sorry to interrupt, Dom, but
it's fine.
It makes me wonder, like, if they knew that this season was going to be the whole big thing was going to be returning to Mandalore and tackling a lot of the stuff about the Children of the Watch and dealing with the differences in the Mandalorian tribes with both the Night Owls and the Children of the Watch and all other Mandalorians, including the ones that were still there after the Purge. But if they knew Pedro was going to be on set, I wonder why they didn't course correct certain things. And now we're always, like Jared said, we're always going to have that question of, will they build up the Children of the Watch as, it's a cult. It's not what Mandalorians are. And they built the armor and Paz up as kind of antagonistic figures. And then now it's, it's fine. So there's always going to be something there.
I mean, Paz, I was happy with the overall arc Paz got this season, but I do kind of like question what the angle is with the armor, because I've gotten very mixed feelings on that. Emily Swallow's performance, by the way, has been brilliant, because I love how she's added so much enigma. Like, if anyone hasn't already seen the TikTok of her putting on the costume and like wandering around a convention, just like interacting with fans, please go. It's brilliant, and she's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I do feel like you could still do this down the line, because as we'll talk when we get to the teasers for season 4, which is definitely happening. I do think we could maybe go down the line and deal with the Children of the Watch, because like I personally would love if they I hope this isn't the end of seeing Mandalore develop, like that we don't just split away now that the big threat has been thwarted, because we've seen kind of like what they did on Navarro with Grief Karga, and showing like how it's the fight isn't over once you kick the Imperials out. There's all these other means to there's all these other things that have to happen, and at the end of the day, the peace between the Mandalorians is still going to be fractious, and like the moment you get there, you might want to work out like who's going to be in charge and all that kind of stuff. And
I think it would be a big shame if Katie Sackhoff was like co-lead for just this season.
Oh, I hope not. I hope she stays co-lead, because like she's slipped into that role just like so perfectly. Like it could have felt a little too just like a legacy character popping in and just sort of like taking space, but she's really like her whole trajectory across the series has been brilliant. Everything with Bo-Katan this episode was just like awesome. Like the minute her literally going into that cave, just again discovering that Mandalore is like starting to prosper, like in terms of the greenery and stuff. The surface is actually supporting life again, and then leading all of these Mandalorians into like this epic charge against the Super Commandos, wielding the Darksaber like that. Like when she like posed like that just before the big fight, I was like, this is so cool. Like this is just awesome. Like just that epic action. I love it.
Charge, and then like bringing it into the guard position. Just woo! Oh man! Also speaking of Bo-Katan, I do need to bring up just a little fun real world behind the scenes thing. Is that Andrew and I will just send each other Din and Bo-Katan edits back and forth on TikTok.
Brilliant. I love it.
It literally has made my day multiple times where I go, oh shit, Andrew sent me something on TikTok. And I'm like so used to most people who like don't typically send me stuff on TikTok, like sending me like something like horrifically cursed because they're like, hey, this is like the crazy stuff that you like. And I'm like, you're not wrong. And thank you. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just Katie Sackhoff and Pedro Pascal defining by panic. But absolutely. No, but the charge here, and season 4 is gonna be really interesting because I am of two minds with it, really. Season 4 can be the beginning of Din, or not necessarily the beginning of Din. Obviously, he understands the Imperial threat, but Din having an up close and personal experience of how the Imperial threat goes beyond his people.
Yes.
It goes beyond the cultural trauma of the Mandalorian purge, and seeing him become this like Imperial headhunter. I was making jokes to my girlfriend. I was like, he's going like full like Aldo Rain, like 100 Imperial scalps.
Now want my scalps. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
I'm into that. I'm into that idea. And how it, this is the beginning of us teeing up whatever the Mandoverse movie. Maybe it's an Heir to the Empire adaptation. Who knows? But
we also have like that's a good place to talk about like the fact that now that the Mandalorians have united and Mandalore is like they're on Mandalore again and they've taken it back and they're forming like a government there, presumably. Like Thrawn would want to deal with that. And so that's why I don't think we've seen the last of like Bo-Katan and Mandalore, and I'm hoping they'll play that into season 4. Like it'd be really cool if we maybe like cut back and forth, like we had an adventure with Din, and then we maybe had an episode that cuts away to Mandalore and shows Bo-Katan like building the place up. That would be really cool. And then you could maybe get into some tensions with the Armorer. Like maybe she is more of a political player. Like this is the thing. Like I think it's just the way that the Armorer is just like written and performed. But like you can never fully trust her, even though she, by all accounts, she did like the right thing. She did everything right. She wasn't really like doing anything wrong, but she's still just a little suspicious because of the whole like the way she enforced the rules and then just sort of relaxed them for Bo-Katan, which makes me think like just briefly to go back to the thing with Pedro and Mando. I wonder if the walks in both worlds thing might have been ascribed to Din as well, had Pedro been available for filming. So like maybe that will be a thing for season 4, and that's how they'll get around suddenly he can take his helmet off. But I also really like the idea of Din being a New Republic headhunter. Like, and I like the way they played it where he's unofficial. So like he's not really like he's not officially working with them, because as we saw, the New Republic is like super corrupt, and well, not super corrupt, but they're just like kind of lazily corrupt, where they are stretched thin and they just can't deal with everything, so they just prioritize the membership worlds. So like I like the idea of Din,
banality of evil type deal.
Yeah, like just like an Andor, exactly. Because I said this like a few weeks ago with Andrew on the pod about like I feel like what they're building up to with the Rise of the First Order is they're gonna like establish that a bunch of the people on the frontier and the Outer Rim kind of form like an unofficial alliance to like deal with the Imperial remnants, because they're the only people taking it seriously. And there is like that line in The Last Jedi about like Leia saying about one of Leia's resistance allies saying, "Oh, we're going to send a distress signal to our allies in the Outer Rim." So like maybe that's going to be like maybe that's where this is heading, like Din being part of like a sort
that's really interesting, and I like that a lot, because there's definitely a historical precedent for that, with again the First Order and the Empire, both, Star Wars isn't political, however they are based on Nazi Germany, very obviously visually. And when you look at all the fascist movements that cropped up across Europe during like the time of the Great Depression, like a lot of those movements were only beaten back by like local anti-fascist boots on the ground movements.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would have like some type of like anti-fascist Outer Rim collective that are the only people who are like willing to push back the Imperial Remnant and kind of put the First Order plot on its back foot for another few decades. I actually like that idea a lot.
Yeah, and it would feel very Star Wars to just like pull from that idea, you know, like, and it kind of leads me to another question though, do you guys think that this was actually supposed to be the last season of The Mandalorian, and then they changed it because of everything that fell through with Rangers of the New Republic?
Thankfully, nothing has fallen through with Knights of the Nerd Republic.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. However, like I said, and we'll get further into it when we reach the end of the episode. But it felt so much like a series finale to me.
Yeah,
like I feel like obviously his story can continue because he has his new thing with Carson Teva and the New Republic. And I don't think the Mandalore stuff is like fully tied it in where once that has reached its resolution, Din's story is over, especially if they have this Mandoverse movie coming out. But it felt so much, okay, Din, he's made peace, he's got Grogu with him. The last shot itself was very like end of series type of shot. And then
like it's almost not perfect
with her pretty much recreating the Rebels shot, but without the what's it called? The Darksaber.
Yeah.
So
we've already forgotten about the Darksaber. Yeah, like it's in the past.
I think a lot of people are talking about how like this feels so final. Every season of The Mandalorian ends with a really nice bow, though. Like no pun intended. But every season of this show has ended with like a button that like, season 1 could have been, that ambiguous, like, and then they adventured together forever. And season 2 could have been like, and then Grogu became a Jedi and Din went off and did his own thing. Like every season could have been it. And this one, yes, it feels so final because like season 2 was this big sea change, right? Because you went, oh, holy God, the Grogu plot is over now. Well, what would we have left? We have the, Legacy of Mandalore plot. So there's still like a huge part of the DNA of this show that we can work with.
Yeah.
And then this season wrapped up all of the Mandalorian Resurgence plot. Not all of, but like it got us back to Mandalore. It showed us, ringing in this new age of Mandalorian society where you have a more devout, potentially zealot faction being very happy and at peace with a less intense version of Mandalorian culture. You see them coexisting, and yes, you could tell stories about how, okay, you won, but now it's time to rule. Fighting was easy, governing's harder. That there's still stuff there. There's still stuff on the table. In the same way that every season ends with that, like, okay, we can close this book. It's almost like, crazily enough, these episodes are called chapters for a reason. That we can close the we can close the book on like the Get Grogu Home. We can close the book on Return to Mandalore, and now we are opening the book where Din Djarin is helping serve the New Republic in this new way. And we will. I think that what we can look forward to in season 4 is maybe a hybridization of what we've seen in these last 2 seasons. Season 2 was very serialized until it wasn't. It was a lot of season 2 was, let me rephrase that. Season 1 was very serialized. Season 2 had one big objective that every episode was a step towards achieving. And then once we hit the Jedi, we hit terminal velocity on that objective.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that season 4 might end up being a hybrid where you will have the overarching, Thrawn of it all, potentially. Who knows? We don't know. Mixed with a more adventure of the week, Dan slowly uncovering what may be going on. There's a lot of potential for season 4. And while, yes, they could very well end it here, I think they could have done that at season 2 and they could have done it in season 1. And it's just how good they are at putting a button on the end of all of these seasons.
That is very true, because I was gonna see, it's funny that you mentioned about like the books, the chapters, because I was gonna frame it as like, it's like a comic book arc where everything kind of is mostly wrapped up and there's a few lingering threads, like, and you could totally like tell stories, because like it would be thematically appropriate, especially after this season where we spent all this time with the New Republic, like exploring how it's, not, even though they beat the Empire, it's not that easy setting up a government, and you run into all these pitfalls and you start using the same technology as the baddies, and then it would be cool to kind of explore that. How is the new Mandalore going to work in relation to the New Republic? Like, how is Thrawn going to like treat the Mandalorians? Is he going to try and like recruit them? Maybe is he going to like consider them a threat? And try and take them out? Now it would be just be all really interesting stuff.
That's the one thing I am kind of not confused or like as a slight, but I'm like shocked it wasn't there. Is each season we've had kind of a stinger towards what we're getting next. With season 1, it was Gideon. With the Darksaber, season 2, it was Boba Fett, which led into his show. And then Book of Boba Fett, of course, ended with the Cobb Vanth thing. We still don't know what that's leading to. So I'm shocked that we didn't necessarily get like not a season 4 preview, but something leading into Ahsoka. And that's why I'm shocked that we didn't get a post-credit scene of maybe Thrawn.
I was so hoping for that. That made me.
I was like, when I saw the credits hit, and then it went straight into like the picture-in-picture Disney Plus thing of like, oh yeah,
like hey, go watch Andor now, and it was
we're not getting something like okay, because we've had that for every season.
Yeah,
Book of Boba Fett. So it was
I really wanted a Thrawn cameo. I really wanted Thrawn to show up and speak.
No, but seriously, I was talking on Comic Book Cast where like my whole thing was I really thought what was going to happen was that we were going to see like what we saw happen to Gideon, and we were going to see Commander, Captain, whatever Pelion kind of like jaunt onto the bridge of the Chimera, or go into Thrawn's quarters and go, "Sir, Moff Gideon has fallen on Mandalore," and we just get the
predictable.
Predictable. Gideon's arrogance has finally come to catch up with him. We will deal with the Mandalorian threat all in due time, Commander Pelion. Like I was so prepared that was going to be the big.
Me too.
And absolutely. I was. A little disappointed it wasn't. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the few times I'm gonna be like, damn, missed opportunity. But that's just me.
I mean, I would have loved Boba Fett to have shown up as well, because like I said it on Twitter, like it would have been a really nice little addendum to Bo's arc to have her, acknowledge Boba Fett as a true Mandalorian because of like all the like animosity between them. But yeah, I totally agree with you about Thrawn.
Especially because they had already revealed him with the Ahsoka stuff at Celebration, so where it wouldn't have been like, oh, hey, like, this is confirmation that Lars is coming. Like, we already know he's there, and we know he's going to be huge in Ahsoka. So, and it is kind of odd that they did the transition into their last spin-off of the Mandoverse, but didn't for their upcoming one. Even if it was something with Skeleton Crew, I would have been excited about, because we still have very little about that show, even after a whole segment of it at the studio showcase, and there was a teaser shown. But that seems to be the one that has circled around the internet the least amount compared to anything.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's like a smaller. It's going to be seen as a smaller show next to Ahsoka, so it would be nice to like beef it up. I mean, they had the setup there, like they set Vane up, and Vane is going to be in that show. So yeah, I kind of would have liked, even if it would have been a little disappointing to get Vane instead of Thrawn, I would have appreciated the like setup there.
Or Gorian Shard returned.
Somehow, Gorian Shard returned. Avast, Mandalorians.
But here's the thing: it would be Gorian Shard saying it. Unlike Poe having his confused, like somehow Palpatine returned moment, it would be Gorian Shard, triumphantly showing up on the scene, going somehow. Like, he would be the one announcing it. But no, I do agree with that, and it's just I for my money, I thought it would have made sense to. In the same way with, go back to 2020 with like that big investors announcement of all the shows. They left out Book of Boba Fett. Why? Because they knew they were going to announce it within the show. And that was such a fun, cool decision. And I thought truly they were like, we're going to see Thrawn from the back, and we're going to let the people at Celebration see, Thrawn Musk. And
yeah.
And then, but the people want more. The people want more. Just wait. And then that'd be the big finale. That'd be that final stinger for season 3. Moff Gideon's arrogance has got up with him. Just end it there. End it with someone.
Why has my new starship exploded?
It's funny because
it's a controlled demolition, Grand Admiral.
That's funny. But yeah, no, the
mining disaster.
The mining disaster, mining Dogecoin disaster. But that was my only real issue, and not even an issue, but just like, again, there was potential there that I think they missed out on by being able to, give people that first official look at little blue boy. But it is what it is.
We'll see him in August, unless we don't. We only get him for one episode, but I highly doubt that. So the one thing, I want to focus more on the end because we've kind of skimmed over it. But we talked about Gideon's demise. That shot, man, of
so cool.
Grogu saving Din and Bo with the Force.
Oh, I love it so much.
It looks awesome, and it was just a great moment of seeing this new adopted family that we've come to see throughout season 3.
Din with the 2 blasters,
exactly,
so badass. Like, it gave me Jango Fett vibes. Like, the pistols were even very similar.
I was thinking the same thing. It was very, shouts out to Ionized Bastards, the Star Wars RPG show that I'm in. Multiple times the Batman Arkham City joke with the Two-Face 2 guns, bitch, has come up, and I was watching the episode by myself at 3 a.m. in the living room, and when he was clearing the room with both drawn, I out loud went 2 guns, bitch, and I was like, did I just wake up to okay. I don't. They got a very specific crowd pop from me for 2 guns, bitch.
Yeah, I hope he keeps them, because they look very impressive. I kind of hope he gets his jetpack back though, because we never saw him reclaim it for sure, but he did make good use of that Imperial jetpack.
Maybe he'll take the Imperial one.
It's also really funny. It's also really funny to me that Din Djarin, for every weapon he picks up, he loses a couple. Din Djarin unlocks the dual blasters at the cost of everything else. Din Djarin gets the Darksaber at the cost of his whole fucking ship, and the Ambin rifle, and the
Beskar spear,
and then here's the Beskar spear. Well, Grogu, you get a shirt, bud.
The man does not know how to maintain his inventory at all.
Not at all. Not worth a damn. Not worth a damn. I can tell you that.
But yeah, Andrew, I'm gonna just pick up what you said about that final battle. It was just really cool. I love that they all took Gideon on together, and little Grogu, doing the knee slide. I feel like we could play a drinking game this episode. Every time a Mandalorian does a knee slide in this episode, drink, because they love their knee slides.
Every time. Even Costco Reeves did that off the ledge knee slide. They're hey, knee darts, bitch, boom, on our way down, which is
really badass.
I love a knee dart. Dart.
Knee darts are awesome, but I do find it kind of funny how we've talked about the armor this whole episode, but the whole week, everyone, me included, was she's the spy. The spies, plural. She's got to be the other one. And then she just doesn't. Because we're it's so suspicious how she just leaves right as all the shit happens. And then she just comes back with reinforcements and flies with Bo-Katan, and we get a really cool Darksaber shot. And I'm that's it. Okay, cool. I still think her beating people up with her hammers is cool as shit. But
it's even funnier when she's flying around, just bonking them with the hammers. Brilliant.
Oh my god! Well, my girlfriend, she was so fucking funny when we were watching this episode last night. Was the art was you get that Lady Kreese, your reinforcements have arrived, and it's such a great beat, right? And then my girlfriend Taylor goes, "So they're gonna give this bitch a gun now, right?" Before the fighting started, before the shooting started, she was they're gonna let her have a blaster, right? They're not gonna make her go into this insane battle with just a nope, just a hammer and like tweezers. Cool. It's like the armor's out of her goddamn mind. And it's funny because if you in the concept art in the credits, the armorer has like a similar thing that like Paz Vizsla had, where he has like the minigun being powered by the jetpack.
Oh,
in the concept art, yeah, there's this great shot of like of Bo like charging in with the Darksaber, and then it's the armorer with like the gun mounted on the jetpack. And Taylor said that, and I said, yeah. We are going to see the armorer pick up more kills than anybody. Because at this point, she's just in a batting cage. Like, she's just flying through, Super Commando, boom, Super Commando, boom. This caving dude's fucking faces in every time she, like, takes a pass. Like, it was cool. It was badass. It was sick as hell.
I would love it, like, a bit where, like...
Yeah.
I'd love if like another Mandalorian like went to offer her a blaster and she was like, "These are all I need."
Yeah. It's like, but then I got to talk about this because it made me emotional. We get what? Okay, first of all, what is? I keep forgetting his name. Paz Vizsla's kid. Is it Ragnar?
Ragnar. Yeah.
So we get his like re-baptism, but this time it's in the living waters, and. Again, I thought we were going to get... I was like, at this point, I'm like, where are they going with this? Because it's, Grogu's still too young to speak the Creed. Because I thought, okay, this is either where we're going to get helmetless Din or we're going to get Grogu speaking words. But instead, it's like, oh, I'm adopting him as my son. And even though we, like... The whole time, we've all been like, okay, yeah, it's his dad. And every character is referred to Grogu or Din as Grogu's dad. So to now finally get that and him being officially now Din Grogu, it made me feel very happy. And that's why, like, yeah, there were some things I didn't love about the finale, but I love that it ended on such a uplifting note. We get Bo-Katan finally uniting everyone, and then we get the straight out of like a Western movie shot of Din in his new place with Grogu just fucking with the frogs. And then they zoom in on him. I was like, that part I really liked about the episode.
Yeah, the wholesomeness is just like, yeah, like you said, Andrew, like I have some issues with the finale, like the more I thought about it, and I think they just pertain to like just maybe the overall execution of season 3, but I love the wholesomeness. I love that it ended happily. I actually like that no one died, because like, as Star Wars fans, we're also used to tragedy and sadness and death, that it's nice when like a story gets to end, like just for now at least, with the main character, getting a chill in his new house with his kid, just playing with the frogs. I mean, it'd be nice if Bo-Katan was there with him, because like we did kind of like set up that bottle of wine, guys. Like, what we doing here? Like, like it would have been very Fifth Element, James Bond kind of thing if they both like just sort of chilled, watching Grogu, because like Grogu's not made it any secret that he wants Bo-Katan to be part of their family for sure. But then again, I'm just speaking as like a Dinbo supporter. So,
I think it's interesting. I like Bo finally not only being able to lead, but getting able to lead in such a like triumphant way that not only does she get to lead, she gets to lead after winning over the Zealots. She gets to lead after taking back Mandalore from Moff Gideon. And I think that's where her heart is that she is ready to lead Mandalore into this new day, hand in hand with the armor. Literally or not literally, we'll see how sapphic that gets. But either way, I do like where it ends. My biggest issue coming away from this season has been that I just fundamentally take issue with the Children of the Watch. Yeah, and the dehumanizing self, it imposes one to deny their own personhood in the name of in my opinion, faux solidarity. The solidarity at the core of the Mandalorian Creed is alive and well, and we see that. However, the foundlings are the most important thing. Unless you take off your helmet to save one, then the helmet rule's more important. And that bothers me. It bothers me that the armorer was willing to send Din Djarin on what seemed like a suicide mission when, again, sure, his people don't really give that much of a damn over the Darksaber, but like, that's a fucking guy. He brought the man who annihilated Mandalore to justice. Like, it's like that.
Yeah. It's like that is absolutely true, yeah.
And the way that the armorer feels so much like your stock standard cult leader, the way that she's just like, and you walk both worlds, Bo-Katan Kryze. It's like, oh, so you're just making shit up.
Yeah.
Like, you can't stop making yourself seem more suspicious. There's the light gaslighting that happens with the whole, I saw a mythosaur. We all see visions and the new. Like, no,
I really did.
I saw a dinosaur in the water. Please listen. At the end of the day, the Children of the Watch have made themselves more palatable because they live on Mandalore now. So if there is an infraction, if somebody removes their helmet, if somebody does any of those things, well, good news, the living waters are downstairs.
That is true.
You do not need to travel to a planet with a death wish to maybe possibly bathe in living waters and be redeemed. However, it's weird that you have to. It's weird that, like,
it's kind of like the Jedi's whole thing about attachments, because, like, the prequels were all dedicated towards showing why this, like, staunch rule against, Jedis cannot, because the rule was ostensibly against attachments, but then it became about, like, Jedis cannot be in love, they can't fall in love with people because that would lead to the dark side. And as we see, the staunch adherence to that rule, that creed, led Anakin, helped influence Anakin down the path of darkness. And, like, it is weird. It is probably my bugbear with the way the Children of the Watch have been portrayed, because, like, if you'd watched watching the first two seasons, it really feels like they're being set up to be somewhat dismantled, or, like, evolve at least as characters, to the point where they're like, you know what, we don't need this stupid rule anymore. Because, like, the series definitely did that with the Darksaber, like the way the I said that the Axe Woves had that kind of rather childish response to Bo-Katan when he's in Guns for Hire, when he said, but according to our ways, the leader of Mandalore must possess the Darksaber. And I love that Din just totally manipulates the rule, because he doesn't give a shit about the Darksaber. He's like, you know what? No, I don't care. Mm-hmm. I'm going to manipulate the rules very clearly to make sure that Bo-Katan gets this weapon, because she can do this, and I can't, because I don't have this understanding of the culture that she does. And I like, that's the thing, I'm in two minds about the Darksaber ultimately getting destroyed, because, like, it's been built up a lot as a weapon, but I could see it being reforged personally. Like, I could see them.
That's my thing. I don't think that's it. Because
it's not the first time a lightsaber's been destroyed.
I know, exactly. We saw that with the Skywalker saber in TLJ, where it's just fine in Rise of Skywalker.
And in Fallen Order with Cal Kestis, he literally crushed his own lightsaber. Yeah.
Will I be shocked if it's it for the Darksaber? No. And I do think having it be, Mandalorians don't need to survive on. No. And I don't think Mandalorians just need to survive on their trinkets. Like, it's a nice narrative theme there.
Yeah.
But I don't think. I mean, I feel like it might be gone for a while, but then we might get a, like, with Bo, like, look what I've put back together, and it's the Darksaber, and
maybe some, like, Kintsugi marks. Yeah,
that would be
just
cool.
Just as they brought the Anzellans in from Rise of Skywalker, it'd be kind of cool if they brought in, like, the same race of that.
The big scary monkey guy.
The big scary monkey guy who helped Kylo reforge his helmet. That would be kind of cool. Like, just put some golden lines across the thing. Or
I was going to say, your talk about the attachment with the Children of Watch and just everything, it's made me realize that I guess there's always just got to be one stupid fucking rule in Star Wars that just drags everything down.
Well, I think that like a lot of that, like you can get into like talking about what does attachment mean though with the Jedi, where like that's the thing. Attachment can mean many things. Obi-Wan Kenobi was able to keep a cool head despite the fact that the woman he loved more than anything died right in front of him.
Yeah.
We look at the High Republic, look at the amount of people who like are in love, who are fucking, who are doing whatever across the High Republic, and none of them are going batshit crazy like Anakin Skywalker. It's all about the execution of these rules.
Obviously, Legends is a bit different, but Ki-Adi-Mundi had what, like 3 wives or something? Like,
yeah.
And that wasn't an issue.
I mean, my race is an endangered species, so I have to do the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I must take a harem of wives because my species is endangered. So that's
still so funny.
You could just feel Anakin like looking at him like,
yeah, it's about to be extinct in about 3 years, pal. Don't worry.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'm just gonna feel some kind of way about the Children of the Watch for a very long time, and part of me wants to be like, okay, well, y'all are with like normal Mandalorians now, so like, if little Ragnar's like, you know what, fuck this, and takes off his helmet, like he's still able to chill, right? Like, sure, he could be like redeemed in the living waters, or could he just like go over there?
Yeah. I'm hoping that with Bo in charge, that things are going to be a bit better. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they pull what we saw with Navarro, where next time we see it, like we just see Mandalore in a way where some of the Mandalorians that were a part of the Watch are now just chilling without their helmets on.
Yeah, like New Sundari.
It could also kind of facilitate an issue that a lot of people have had with the Mandalorian, which is a lot of important events and character development happen off screen.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
However, again, because it's a theme that the show has been doing, where we see Navarro, boom, all of a sudden it's a prosperous place for an independent system. Tatooine, boom, Boba Fett under its rule.
Not a shithole.
Yeah, not a shithole anymore. So I wouldn't be shocked if next time we see Mandalore, it's like, boom, okay, we have the indigenous life again, and there's a bit more unity. But again, I would like to see that. I would like to have been able to see that, and which is why I hope that we're not fully done with all the Mandalore stuff, because I want to see more of what a new Mandalore looks like now that the Imperial remnant is off their back for the time being, and that we see these tribes united. Which is another thing. You mentioned Boba Fett. The one I'm the most shocked about, again, going back to the Ahsoka teases, is no Sabine. Because her being a Mandalorian is so integral to her character in Rebels. And we got none of that here. And at least in the shots in the trailer, none of that in the trailer either. Because we see her wearing just a regular helmet, not a Mandalorian helmet.
Well, I believe there are brief shots of her suited up.
Is there one? Okay.
And that may have been the Celebration exclusive. Yeah. I think that Sabine deciding to put the armor back on is going to be a big moment for her. And because she has long hair, but there's also shots of her with short hair when she's back in her suit. So I think, again, to steal an Alden Diazism, I think we might get a Mulan moment for her, where she's cool. It's time for me to ride again and put the armor on. And she cuts her hair back down so she can fit it in
with Ezra's lightsaber. That would be pretty sick.
Maybe even with Ezra's lightsaber, yeah.
We know she's wielding it.
We know she has it. Cool. So yeah, I think we're gonna. I think Sabine taking back up the title of Mandalorian is going to be a big deal, and one that we will see happen.
And it makes sense with all the new mythology we've gotten about the Night of 1,000 Tears, because maybe she blamed herself for because we know Sabine blamed herself for the weapons she built being used by the Empire to enslave her people. So I could totally see her feeling responsible for gifting the Darksaber to Bo, and then Mandalore still fell against the Empire, you know, and maybe she was blamed by other Mandalorians because she ceded the Darksaber and gifted it without having been won in combat. But like, I agree. I think that's definitely going to be her arc, and that does bring me to like, I think there's a possibility that Din and Grogu might show up in Ahsoka now. Like maybe if it's just for one episode, because like
I was expecting it to begin with.
I think so, but I didn't think it was going to be a thing, but I absolutely do now, because like now that they're headhunting Imperial remnants and Ahsoka and Sabine are looking for Thrawn, it just makes sense for them to bump into one another. And I just love the thought of Din and Sabine interacting, and Sabine being like, "Oh, you helped retake Mandalore." Well, he gets to at least tell her that they retook Mandalore and that he's met Bo-Katan Kryze, and you know, it'd just be a really cool interaction, I think.
I just want to see Ezra interacting with Grogu and being like, "What the fuck? Like, I thought you were 900. What happened here?"
Yes, I want to see Ezra interact with Grogu. That's going to be great. I love the thought of that.
But
I never thought about Din and Grogu showing up in Ahsoka. Like they might. That's not something I'm like super betting on, but I'd be here to see it, and for Din to be a part of Sabine's journey back into her faith. I think that
Grogu needs to meet Huyang. Grogu needs to meet Huyang and have him be like, "Oh, I see that you. I didn't think you made it out." Yeah. I always try and do an impression of Huyang, and I can never quite get David's voice, even though I'm like such a fan. Like I'm gonna get there. My throne I'm pretty relaxed with. I drive everyone insane with how often I use it. But yeah, I'm getting there with the Huyang. So,
but speaking of droids, one last thing we can talk about is IG-11 officially being reforged as the new Marshal of Navarro. And
Tyka's back.
I find this is such a fuck you to She Who Must Not Be Named. Is you got replaced by a fucking droid.
You got replaced by a character who died.
Yeah. Like, I just think it's great. But him with the red lines, for whatever reason, I have no idea why. And maybe we shouldn't bring up this person because of how they're not so liked right now. But IG-11 showing back up and like the whole crowd applauding. I just thought of the end of Chamber of Secrets with Hagrid coming back. I have no idea why.
I feel that.
That was like the first thing that came to mind, like music swelling, everyone clapping. But I don't know who wrote that book. No one important. Apparently,
totally not a reboot coming from that. Of which I have no.
Listen to this week's Nerd Academy podcast for me to accidentally have a 20-minute screaming session.
I was going to say,
don't get me started. Invite me on, and I'll get in on that. Yeah,
I'll go 3 fucking hours about how it's the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life.
I forgot to put it in the show notes today when we recorded TNAP, and I don't remember what story we were talking about. It started with us talking about Joker having just finished filming. And I was like, I don't know why they're making a second Joker. And I say that as somebody who didn't like the first one. So,
same.
So that's there. So I'm not going in as the target audience. But I said that, and then Travis went, "Yeah, just like that goddamn Harry Potter reboot." And like my eyes just turned black. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that shit." And then it just turned into a 20-minute Travis and I just screaming about how much we miss liking Harry Potter.
Same.
Because that evil, hateful fucking harpy ruined it for everybody. But yeah, anyway.
Oh no. Yeah, no, totally, yeah. We suddenly lost Andrew. No, he'll be back. Yeah, no, totally. I have the same kind of feeling, but like, to go back to IG-11, I liked that. It felt very natural to bring IG back. I was worried that they dropped the thread about the memory circuit, and it was just kind of like a nice reward for Din.
Yeah.
Showing that Din is on the right path, allying with the New Republic, or at least the Rangers and the Outer Rim. I mean, you talked, Andrew, about like wanting a certain cameo. I did kind of hope Zeb was there so he could interact with Din.
Yeah. I would have loved that.
I was hoping for Zeb too.
They would be besties.
But
they would be besties. I'd like Zeb and Din would be such best buds for sure. Like they both just they love taking out Imperials, and they both love fighting. You know, they'd be best buds for sure. And that's the thing though, because I said I wasn't sure if this series was ending. That's why I kind of thought towards the end, like I feel like the whole Din explicitly going and working with Carson Teva was like a later addition, because I get the sense that they were just originally had written it so that he goes to Navarro, gets the house set up, and he's just chill there, and then they can pick it up in the other shows that he's agreed to like come and do some contractual work for the New Republic, like unofficially, but like now that Rangers has fallen through, like I feel like it makes a lot more sense to continue the Mandalorian and just like have Din and Grogu take a more central role in like confronting the Imperial Remnant and the emerging First Order.
Rangers of the New Republic starring Carson Teva and IG-11
and Zeb
Gareth
Zeb Aurelios.
We'll see. We'll see with all of that. I have not let my
there you go.
I have not let my hopes lapse for
Rangers.
Yeah.
Knights of the Nerd Republic coming soon to Disney Plus. Jared's been bought.
Oh, you're right. I have.
We sold the rights.
I'm ready. I'm ready to make a listen. You do Knights of the Nerd Republic, or you could do a show called Ionized Bastards. That stars a mysterious dark Jedi named Fabian Martell, a lawyer Ithorian named Thalbor Sheems, a kleptomaniac pathological liar cyborg Gungan named Zuzo Yort, and an adorable HK assassin droid named 4D44. I'd watch it.
Yeah. You have me at cybernetic Gungan. I'm there for that. Yeah.
All remaining systems YouTube channel. All 7 episodes out now.
But yeah, I would say my overall thoughts on not necessarily the season itself, because we're going to save that for a separate review, but how it wrapped up this season is, I do feel that this season was a bit uneven in terms of its narrative, but I had fun watching it. There was no episodes where I was like, this sucked. It's so weird that I enjoyed, I think, every episode of the season, but I totally feel how people can say how it could be a bit disjointed.
Exactly the same, yeah.
And so as an overall viewing experience, I thought it was really fun. I'm going to need to rewatch it in full and also rewatch the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian to see how it ranks up compared to those two. I haven't done any rewatches of Mando, if I'm being completely honest, like since either of them came out, except for, of course, certain scenes and stuff like that. The one thing that I think they may have shot themselves in the foot a little bit, because I don't remember who was it that worked on the show that was like, this is going to be, we're gonna have bigger moments than if you thought season 2's finale was huge, just wait for this one.
Yeah, and they definitely trained people to expect a cameo for sure. People's
mind, because of the Soups effect, is immediately going to go to, is fucking Han Solo showing up? Like,
exactly.
When you don't get that big cameo moment, people are going to be like, and again, like,
and I've seen that.
I was expecting, like, media. Okay, are we gonna get Thrawn? Are we gonna get, like Donna's been saying, Boba Fett? And we didn't. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what that big moment, like, obviously Bo-Katan uniting Mandalore is a huge thing. Is it Grogu being adopted? Is that what they were referring to? Or is it the very, very much, like you said, 1950s Western of Din just sitting there on his new space log cabin with his frog son?
I did a whole thread about Boba Fett, and it aged like milk. It really did.
I think the whole finale is that big moment, Like I get so frustrated with Star Wars fandom that, like, everything hinges on this incorrect definition of the word cameo.
Oh God.
That, like, that like somehow the appearance of a character that already exists is the be-all end-all of every goddamn fucking show and every piece of discourse. And just that doesn't, I don't know. I get so demoralized with those conversations, but You know,
Bo-Katan, my favorite cameo in season 3.
Yeah, truly. You know, and then that's the thing. I love how many cameos there were this season. Actual cameos, like
Zeb was
like Lizzo and Jack fucking Black. You know, like those
Mandalorians.
Doing stuff like that. That is a cameo. That is a goddamn cameo. Luke, Ahsoka, Cobb Vanth, Boba Fett. No, those are characters in the story. They just happen to be really fun guest appearances as well. And I get frustrated when every conversation boils down to not knowing what the word cameo means. And that is not an indictment of anybody specifically, because it just isn't. It's the mix of people not knowing how to use that word, people who use it like a dirty word, and people who use it like the best thing ever. And it makes you just want to run face first into a wall.
Examples of what an actual cameo would be, like you said, Zeb this season, and also Yularen and Andor, where they don't stop the episode dead in its tracks. And also if you don't know who the character is, it doesn't take away from your viewing experience, because they don't like linger on it and be like, like, look who this guy is. You know who this guy is. Like, where if you say you don't know who Thrawn or Ahsoka are, you're like, oh, what the fuck is this? So, like, it's a bit interesting there. But overall, again, I enjoyed the finale. There were some issues I had with it. Some of them are me pretty much telling myself, well, it's okay, because I don't think they're going to last anyways, like the Darksaber and like Gideon. But I don't know. But again, I think Gideon going out, the way Jared talked about it, it has me way more positive about it than I was originally going into it. Like, oh, that was kind of, but now I'm like, actually, you know what? No, this is the perfect way for him to die, of the Imperial ship crushing the Imperial base, being destroyed by the own thing he created. I want them Thrawn and Gideon going at it. But yeah, no, again, we'll talk about the season as a whole down the line. We still have to do our Bad Batch season 2 review. And then we'll do our Mando season 3 one, because it's been a bit busy. Will
that include a eulogy for Tech?
The whole episode's just going to be a Tech eulogy. Yeah,
going to be a eulogy for Tech. Yeah.
And if we ever followed orders,
I'll have you do a separate eulogy for the episode. But yeah, so we'll have that out. But overall, again, as a finale, I thought it was strong. I'm interested in, like I said, because it felt so much like a definitive end to me, I am curious of where season 4 is going to go. But because Din Djarin is a character to where, if this arc and this story has wrapped up with a nice little bow, that doesn't mean his character is over. And now that we have him doing this independent contractor work with the New Republic, I'm interested in seeing where it goes. And I think we're still going to be able to see a lot of that inner workings of the lead up to the First Order with this new setting, potentially even more than we were seeing beforehand. So that is what I'm really intrigued by. But again, that Praetorian Guards, Don, I thought the sequels were getting retconned. Did Twitter lie to me? Thought,
for sure. Yo, yeah.
Oh, Twitter didn't lie to you. Fucking Victor Van Doomcock lied to you. And
I was under the assumption that they were going to use the World Between Worlds to retcon the sequel.
Listen,
you saw there was like a scene, wasn't there, where like Ahsoka just hand waves away the sequels and says, "That's not happening." Yeah, I saw it with my eyes. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
Listen. I pay more attention to the fandom menace and just weirdos on the right than I should to begin with. I cannot put into words how like funny it is to see all of that come crashing down. Yeah. But I have really bad news for all the people who think that the moment the Praetorian Guards showed up, that that Star Wars fan QAnon was going to go away. We're almost at the end of the first term of the Biden administration, and people still think the election is going to be overturned.
Yeah.
When lunatics hitch their wagons to a batshit insane conspiracy theory, they don't leave after they're shown verifiable proof that they're wrong. So just because we now know the sequels are never going to be decanonized, don't think that the internet is going to get less fucking stupid.
No, they're really going away, and Kathleen Kennedy's all like she's at the root of it all, and she hates
the new Jedi
Favreau.
Order movie was a rogue. They weren't planning it. Kathleen surprised everyone. And I'm just making shit up now.
Totally, for
but,
sure.
Yeah, no, I need a glass of water after that. I can't deal with that anymore.
Hydration time.
Thank you for joining us for our Mandalorian season 3 finale coverage. Like I said, we've had a lot of fun talking about this season on this podcast feed. Thank you for joining us. We've had a lot of great guests this season as well. One of which I was unfortunately not there for, which is still upsetting. But it's been a fun ride. And like I said, I've personally enjoyed this season. Whether or not its narrative is as strong as the other two, again, that's going to have to be something that I figure out myself. And when we do our season 3 review, we'll come back to that. But overall, finale, I enjoyed it. I'm interested in seeing where Din and Din Grogu's story go. That's going to be that's the one thing that I'm like, okay, Din, but also Din Grogu. I'm like, okay, that's going to take some time to get used to.
And I'm just going to keep saying Din and Grogu because people know what I mean.
Exactly.
Now I know how all the people who didn't want to say Grogu in the first place felt when they said like Baby Yoda. It's like I'm fine with it, but it feels a bit awkward. Like now we need to meet Din's adoptive dad and like see maybe that's like a jarring clan thing, or like maybe the clan that adopted him. That's how I would say at least.
It'll be really interesting because it's still Ragnar Vizsla.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what the fuck these naming conventions are.
Yeah, like maybe it's just the clan that adopted Din, like like how there's the Ren clan and the Kreese clan, like maybe just to have it be that like that Din is like adopted by a house where they pass the first name down onto like each successor, whether they're adopted or not. That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, we still don't even know which Mando saved him. So that I feel like we're due to pick up on that at some point.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
We're due to see who saved Din, and I, still really want more Kelleran back. But
special shout out to the Hasbro and Lucasfilm marketing team now that have to be seething because they have all this child merch, and then they're like Grogu, like fuck, we got to change it, and now it's Din Grogu, like God fucking damn it, here we go again.
John, we talked about
every season you give this motherfucker a new name.
It's like we've already shipped out everything. It's like now we got to do it again. Don't worry, the way Black Series works, we won't get a Din Grogu until about 2026. So thank you again for joining us for our Mando season 3 finale coverage. Jared, thank you for coming on. Where can everyone find you? I know you said you're recording something tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and on YouTube as well if you want the video version. Right after I'm done with this, I'm going to be recording our Mando finale review as well. So check all that out. Like I said, wherever you get podcasts, the Nerd Academy podcast, and on YouTube. I compete in Epic Confrontations, the Star Wars Trivia League put on by Star Wars in a Galaxy. I know this guy writes for it as well. And this guy's going to be joining us soon.
Open call to anyone. If anyone wants a teammate.
Andrew, I would team up with you if I didn't get myself banned from the teams division for a calendar year. A little oopsie doodle on that one, a little fucko boingo.
I'm nervous to interact with Alden after the way his last match with Big Chungus went.
But you can find me doing trivia at Epic Confrontations, and also, as I mentioned earlier, Ionized Bastards, a Star Wars real play RPG show on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. So go find me doing other nerd stuff over there.
All right, Don, as for you?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead, where I tweet a lot about like Star Wars, Doctor Who, Marvel, politics, and stuff. You can also find me on TikTok and Hive under the same handle at Donovan McComish. A little lax with the TikToks, but I'm going to pick that up soon. Like Jared said, you can find me. I am a question writer on Star Wars Epic Confrontations. We've got a load of cool stuff coming down the pipe. And with Connor and Andrew, you can find me, and also our co-host Jake, you can find me on sweditor.ig.com, where we write articles and short stories around Star Wars, which is known as SWEF, Star Wars Editor Fiction. There's like webcomics and short stories that like try to stay within what is established canon for Star Wars, but we do like to take some elements from Legends and sort of like put our own spin on them. I've written one story that came out in June last year. It is called Scars of War. It takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, and it stars a clone trooper called Blister, who encounters a Jedi survivor of Order 66.
Oh, and then the book club too.
Oh, and we've got to talk about the book club. Yes. So for those who don't know, like back in around 2021, on the SWE Discord server, we had a book club going where we talked about like just various canon novels in Star Wars. It was a lot of fun. It's, you know, how I got to like chatting with Andrew and Connor, and you know, this it probably should be said that it wouldn't be For the Republic might not exist in its current iteration without that book club, but it's coming back. It'll be coming back for the second week of May onwards, and we're going to be talking about Heir to the Empire in weekly meetings hosted by Austin, the founder of Star Wars Editor, SWE Austin. You can find him on Twitter, and also Mike. All underscore Star Wars on Twitter. So that's going to be really fun. And hey, if you want to get involved and like join this book club, please join the Star Wars Editor Discord and just sign up for book club and the Reaction Rolls channel. We'd love to have you on to talk more about Grand Admiral Thrawn. Yes.
All right, perfect. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram at For the Republic Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, For the Republic Podcast. We are a little over halfway towards our goal to get more live content going, so definitely help us out there. And also just make sure you also just check out our audio feeds on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts, because that'll definitely help us out as well. And then you can find me in about a half hour, hopefully, probably losing at bar trivia, but who knows? Maybe they'll finally ask a Star Wars question this week. So thank you for joining us for our Mandalorian coverage. Like I said, we have a Bad Batch Season 2 review coming within the next couple days, and a full Mando Season 3 discussion on the way as well. And Jedi Survivor is looming, so you know Connor is got something planned there as well. So
hey, thanks. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, dope, neat. This is the way.